everyone and welcome to lesson number 3. In this lesson you will learn to play your first real fingerstyle song. I will teach you a couple of new chords and we will raise the bar a little for your right hand. Just like before, I assume that you have spent enough time on the exercise of lesson 2 and so on, because like I said before, it makes no sense to start with the exercises in this lesson if you cannot play the previous ones. Alright, in this lesson I will teach you an old American folk song, Jesse James, a very popular song for bluegrass players. It's a great song to play on the 5-string banjo too. If you do that well, the sparks will fly off your fingers, but in this lesson we'll make an easy start like this. Well, that sounds like real music, doesn't it? And the nice thing is that you'll be able to play this song pretty soon, and when you can play this song, you've come quite far already in some respects. With similar techniques you can already play many other fingerstyle songs, and we're only just in the 3rd lesson. Fingerstyle guitar is just a piece of cake. Easy. Okay, for the beginners, we'll first have a look at the new chords. Many of you may already know them, but just hang in there, I'll do this quickly. C major. Very important chord. Index finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. Middle finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret. Ring finger and little finger on the 5th and 6th string on the 3rd fret. C major. The next one, F major. In this song I actually play F major 7, but because I don't touch the 1st string you don't hear the difference, and this way it's easier. Index finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret, middle finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, ring finger on the 4th string, 3rd fret, and here comes a little trick. Bend your thumb around the neck of the guitar and press the 6th string on the 1st fret. Make sure you don't play the 1st string, and then you have F major. I know there are guitar teachers out there who will tell you you should never bend your thumb around the neck of a guitar, but I never had a guitar teacher, so what do I know? And well, I was born with this thumb, so why shouldn't I use it? You can do great things with your thumb if you bend it around the neck like this. And you lose all that when you make things more complicated than they need to be. So as far as I'm concerned, you may use your thumb to do anything you want. However, if you have trouble bending your thumb around the neck because your hands are small or the neck of your guitar is a little wide, there is another way. Lay your index finger across all the strings on the 1st fret, pressing down firmly. Put your middle finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and your ring finger and little finger on the 4th and 5th string, 3rd fret. Now you can strum all strings and then you have F major. The last chord you need for this song, G major. Little finger and ring finger next to one another on the 1st and 2nd string, 3rd fret, index finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, middle finger on the 6th string, 3rd fret. This is actually the bluegrass version. Many guitarists play the G major chord like this, with the 2nd string open. But with the 2nd string on the 3rd fret, it sounds much better most of the time. Once more, to all beginners, if you cannot play these chords, switch off your DVD player right now and make sure that you learn to play them first and only then continue with this lesson. Okay, we're going back to the right hand now and have a look at the very popular fingerstyle technique, the so-called palm mute. A palm mute means that you slightly mute the bass strings with the palm of your hand. If you play the bass strings normally, you hear this. But if you do a palm mute, you get this effect. The bass strings sound a little muffled and don't ring out so much anymore. If you want to do a palm mute, you put your hand on the bridge of the guitar with the lower side of the palm of your hand just hanging over the bridge saddle. The bridge saddle is this white strip that the strings go over. Make sure to do it in such a way that you just touch the first millimeter of the free string. This will slightly mute the bass strings, and by rolling or sliding your hand you can increase the effect by moving towards the sound hole or decrease the effect by moving in the opposite direction. Most of the time you only mute the 3 bass strings. You do not touch the first 3 strings. Move your hand around a bit so that you get it just right. These strings are muted and these are not. You use a palm mute because the bass strings on the guitar are louder and also have more sustain than the thinner strings on which you play the melody. If you do not mute the bass strings and you play a little faster, the melody will pretty soon get lost in the bass notes and all the notes will sort of start to bleed into one another. Something like this. With palm mute you get this. Do you hear that? With palm mute it's as if there's more air in the music. You can better distinguish all the individual notes and it brings the melody more to the foreground. And that's why palm mute is often used for a fingerstyle guitar, particularly for the faster songs. Okay, now I will play Jesse James one more time for you, slowly, so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. Make sure to listen carefully to the melody and try to hear the melody separately from the bass notes and the rhythm notes. The first part is simple. But here's something new. With your left hand you play F major, and now watch carefully. Did you see that? You heard this tone, but I did not touch the second string with my right hand. That's what they call a pull-off. I play the second string only once with my right middle finger. The little finger of my left hand is on the 3rd fret, and then I pull my little finger off the strings a bit sideways, so that I actually play the string with the little finger of my left hand instead of the middle finger of my right hand. The pull-off happens exactly at the moment that my thumb plays the 5th string. Okay, now it's your turn again to get started with this song. And if I were you, I would do it this way. First, just listen to the song a few times so that you know the melody by heart. That's important because you can use the melody as a sort of roadmap. Even if you cannot play the song, if you know the melody, you always know where you are when you're trying to play it, and you also know more or less where you have to go to. If the melody goes up, your hand must move up the neck or to a thinner string, and if the melody goes down, you have to go the other way. So always make sure to start by memorizing the melody. That's an important first step. And it's also an easy step, just listen. Then you start with the chords, in this case C, F, C and G. For example, you could play only the chords and strum the strings and sing or whistle the melody, or just let the melody run in your head. Then you start playing the chords with an alternating bass and the rhythm notes, and you use the rest of your fingers for a first attempt to play a little bit of the melody, as far as it goes. Then have a look at the video again and see what I do, and if you can't figure it out, you can have a look at the tablature in the booklet. That, I think, is the intelligent way of learning a new song, because all the time you are aware of what you're trying to do. The wrong approach, I think, is when you find yourself glazing at the tablature, producing all kinds of notes that don't seem to make much sense to you, while you don't even know what part of the song you're actually at. And it becomes pretty boring that way too. Moreover, you should try to play everything by heart as soon as you can. You should not become dependent on tablature or musical scores when you play. There are people who can play beautifully from sheet music, and I admire them because I cannot read a single note even when it's the size of a planet. But without sheet music, some people cannot play anything, and that's a real handicap, I think, if you want to make real music. Then, when you move on, you should divide the work into small sections. Start, for example, with only the first 2 bars. And practice just those 2 bars until you can play them a few times in a row, like this. If that takes you a few days to learn, fine. As soon as you can play the first 2 bars, you concentrate on only the next 2 bars, so you try to play this. Only when you can play that too, you try to play all 4 bars together, and I bet at that point you'll find that you cannot play the first 2 bars anymore. That's perfectly normal. Don't get frustrated, just start again with the first 2 bars and it'll come back, much faster this time. So cut your work into small, manageable doses and concentrate on one little section of the song at a time. That's what you're working on, and you learn it by repeating that little section again and again and again. If you do it this way, you keep the overview, and by working on short sections, you can repeat them more often in the same time, and that is good for the learning process to really program your brains. And please take your time for this, okay? Don't look at your watch, don't even look at the calendar, just concentrate on that little section you're trying to play. That must be your entire universe. Don't think of anything else as long as you cannot play it. That's how it works. And as soon as you're done with the song in a few days, a few weeks or longer, doesn't matter, I'll be waiting for you in the next lesson. Good luck.